So a couple of times now I've made reference to having a bad knee. What's that about? Story time! So way back in 2011, I was probably in the best shape of my life. I was working, but I was backpacking, climbing, doing mountaineering peaks all over the place, basically doing everything I could, and it was really paying off. And as a part of that, I took my first significant vacation time that I had been able to and did a 9-day trip into the Cahuilla Range of the Sierra Nevada. It's basically the deepest in you could get, and the plan was to clear out like 13 to 15 of these peaks, including several that were known to be some of the more difficult on the Sierra Peak section list. So we go, and the initial couple of days go really well. We have to get over 2 passes just to get in. We've got a massive amount of food. I mean, I had a rope bag filled with food in addition to my big bear can. But we're having a good time. We get black Cahuilla, which was kind of the crown jewel, and a bunch of other stuff. And on day 6, Jen and I split off from the other 2 guys that were with us. They did a peak with us in the morning, and then Jen and I decided we were going to go get Triple Divide and a couple other things. Uh-oh, dog's ahead. Just a dog that wanted to let everybody know that I was there, not aggressive. So, we get towards the end of the day, we do Triple Divide Peak, and now Jen and I are headed back towards camp, but we try and make a loop out of it. So we're moving along this ridge line towards Queen Cahuilla, and we're trying to find a way to scramble down. I mean, at this point, we have just been kicking ass left and right, so we feel really good. And at one point, I down climb, maybe, I don't even know, down this ramp to see if we can get down into the ground so we could descend back into Nine Lake Valley. Jen's waiting up above. I get down to literally within 8 feet of the ground. I look at it, decide, well, I'm not jumping 8 feet. I don't want to break a leg. And so I start to climb back up. I wasn't hot dogging, I wasn't being foolish, testing all my holds, as near as I can tell, and then something blew. Basically, foothold went, and I wasn't able to hold myself, and I went over backwards into space. Last thing I remember thinking was, I'm gonna break my legs, and then there's a bit of discontinuity. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground in quite a bit of pain, but I'm not dead, so, that's a plus. I yell up to Jen that I fell, I'm hurt, don't follow me down. San Juan was for her to have the same thing happen. So she took about 15 minutes to get over to me. I don't remember it as 15 minutes, but I was kind of struggling to breathe at the time. I had severe pain in my ribs. I couldn't tell what was going on there other than it was hard to breathe. And I was not able to bear weight on my right knee. So I sit there, she gets down to me, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Keep in mind, she's the only person with me. She's about 19 in a day at this point, and we aren't anywhere near a trail. Nobody's gonna happen across us, so, okay, I gotta send her as a runner. I didn't own a spot, or InReach didn't exist at that time. So I go over the details with her multiple times, and she heads off with the goal of notifying the 2 guys at the lower camp, and then heading out to a ranger station across Cahuilla Gap, which was about 7 miles. Now this fall happened at about 5 o'clock at night, so the sun's going down in a couple hours. And I spent the next couple of hours lying there, staring up at the sky. Periodically, I'd be unable to breathe. I'd try and breathe in, there'd be a sharp pain, I'd be going, and I would have to try and relax while that was going on, and then it would pass. But each time I didn't know, is this it? So I got real kind of matter of fact there for a while. I remember staring up at airplanes passing ahead, or up above, going, damn it, there's probably somebody looking out the window sipping on a gin and tonic. He doesn't even know I'm gonna freaking die down here. Also, in between the respiratory attacks, I was actually really bored. I remember lying there, you know, and I didn't have anything to do on the 15-minute breaks or so I'd get, just going, this sucks. Also, I just started dating somebody at the time who was more of a city person, and she was convinced I was going to die in the mountains. And so my other thought that I remember is, yeah, this isn't going to go over real well, but oh well. So the guys from below got to me right before dark. They brought sleeping bags and some other things. One of them had a spot device, which is a satellite messenger which can send a help beacon, but he had been using the track feature. That had run the battery down. We had spare batteries, you know, we're not idiots. However, that was when I learned that spot devices, at least that generation, only use lithium batteries. If you try and put the other kind in, no go. So it's flashing low battery. There's no confirmation it can get a signal out. We leave it out on a rock and we wait out the night. That was a very, very long night. The breathing issues didn't really go away. It did help that I was warmer, because when I was waiting for those guys, it was so cold because I'm lying on, you know, granite rocks. This wasn't like a flat grassy area I fell on. It was a boulder field at an angle. So I was getting colder and colder, and by the time the guys reached me, I was like shivering uncontrollably, which wasn't helping the whole ribs and breathing situation. Finally, sun comes up, still no helicopter. I'm starting to look at those two guys and go, okay, well, obviously the signal may not have gotten out. We don't know what happened with Jen because she was hiking solo in the dark, get out to that ranger station, and who knows if that ranger station was occupied. It wasn't. The one over Kauai Gap just had a vendor, basically, who happened to have a radio. So she had spent most of the night going over details over the radio with somebody, and then had gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning and hiked back, not knowing if she was going to find me alive, etc. 7:15 in the morning, we hear a helicopter. We start, you know, waving every brightly colored thing we own. It's like, okay, I'm gonna survive this one. I remember very distinctly my thought when I saw the helicopter. It was relief turned with, oh shit, you know, this is just serious. Everybody's gonna know I fell and I had to get helicoptered off, embarrassing, etc., etc. Well, helicopter sees us, lowers a ranger down. She comes up and she's like, okay, sir, I'm gonna get you out of here. However, it's not going to be comfortable. There's going to be some pain involved. And I just laughed because, you know, I'd been in horrible pain for an eternity at that point, as near as I could tell. So they had to put me on a backboard in place at an angle, carry me a short distance away, and then hook me up and to the helicopter, which was hovering, and then short haul me to some place where the helicopter could sit down and they could move me inside the helicopter. It hurt quite a bit, but next thing you know, I'm in the helicopter. They strap me in, put a headset on me, and I'm whisked away. Jen made it back just as they were working on me, so at least she knew I was okay. But keep in mind, we're still a day and a half, 2 days in the middle of the Sierra at this point. And when you get rescued, they don't bring your group out and they don't bring your gear out. They're really limited on what they can carry. So my three friends had to split up all my gear, and they were going to have to hike back out. So we made a plan for that. Got a phone number where we could contact each other, and I left them with my keys. The helicopter takes me out to a station on a road where an ambulance meets me and carries me down the mountain into Visalia to Kauai Delta Hospital. If you want more detail on this, I did do a write-up on my website if you look up Kauai Fall. But yeah, that hospital was not the best. I ended up with a doctor surrounded by a whole bunch of students who had to be like forced to get me x-rays or anything. They never even cleaned my wounds out. I literally had to scrub rocks out of my wounds in a Marriott shower, you know, with those rough hotel towels, hours after they released me. So eventually my friends get out, they reach me, which made me quite happy because since I didn't have any ID on me, I had a photocopy. It had been destroyed in the stream crossing a few weeks before. I wasn't able to get any painkillers. And if you've ever had broken ribs it hurts. So I get home, life goes on. The x-rays showed, and I quote, "There was something funny with my ribs, but the doctor didn't know. There was something funny with my knee, but the doctor didn't know." And for the next couple of weeks, the ribs were pretty much all-consuming pain. If you've never had broken ribs, it hurts to, you know, bend, sit up, lie down, shift, pretty much do anything. As that got better, then my knee started to become a bigger and bigger concern. After I realized that there was this disc of something that I could periodically push around inside my knee, I went to a knee doctor and basically got the answer of, well, if your knee is functionally working, we don't like to cut into it. So, you know, we'll do surgery if you want, but we advise not. I got a second opinion later, and the guy was basically, didn't even want to look at the thing. He's just like, yeah, you want to do surgery? We'll schedule it. And I'm like, what surgery? What's going on? So I had to learn to live with a knee that was pretty bad. I did get back out and hike. There was a lot of pain. There were a couple of trips that were really bad during the recovery. And as I continued, things kind of degraded over the next couple of years. It basically hurt every time I took a step. Going up or down hurt. Getting out of a chair hurt. Stairs hurt. But I kept hiking because what else was I going to do? I mean, if it came down to be in pain every step or stay inside, my choice was be in pain every step. But over the next couple of years, it got worse and worse. 2015 rolls around, this has continued, and now I'm having to avoid doing things just because the pain's too bad, which I hated to do. But I mean, I was barely rock climbing anymore because it hurt to put weight on that knee, especially in, you know, where I was really putting pressure on the kneecap. Didn't seem to be anything that was making it better. I was gaining weight because I wasn't able to exercise, and I was just really unhappy. Finally, a friend of mine, Karen, who's an OT, was talking to me and convinced me to go give it one more shot. And her point was, yeah, surgery may degrade your knee, but you're already degraded. You need to find a doctor who will listen to you, and you need to explain what quality of life is to you, because if you don't have quality of life now, whatever the surgery does for you, you know, it's got to be an improvement. And so I did. And after a recommendation from somebody, I found Dr. Grimet, and he went through it all. He analyzed what was going on. We did an MRI. And in late 2015, I went in for a microfracture surgery on my right knee. The idea was the impact on my knee had scooped out some of the cartilage from behind my kneecap. So that was what was causing all the pain. Also, my knee had started swelling up randomly, which had made me start to bail out of trips I was leading, and that I just couldn't live with. So the idea with a microfracture is they go in, clean up the wound, you know, debris it, and then they drill into the back of the bone. It then bleeds into the hole, and you get a blood clot there. You then have to guard that blood clot, and that forms tissue of sorts eventually, which can help. That surgery is somewhat controversial in certain areas. I listened to the doctor, you know, he laid out the other options. You know, if I wanted to wait 18 months, I could actually get some cartilage cloned, but unfortunately, that would put me down for 18 months. This was already a 6-month recovery, and that put me in danger of not being able to do the Sierra Club Wilderness Travel Course, and I love that program, and I didn't want to miss that. So surgery ensued, though it almost got pushed back because I had mosquito bites right before the surgery, which turns out that can be an infection risk. So don't go to a hot tub right before you're going to be down for 6 months. And then I spent the next couple of months in pretty heavy recovery. I mean, I was bedridden for a while. I spent 2 weeks in this machine that slowly exercises the knee to kind of groove that area while protecting the clot. And then I had a slow attempt at getting back. Lots of time spent on an exercise bike, lots of physical therapy because I was trying to hit the goal of being able to do the wilderness class when it rolled around in January. And I mostly did. I missed the initial hike and I had to take it easy during the third class rock scrambling outing, but I was there. That let me get back to hiking. It was better. It wasn't like new, but the pain levels were manageable. And while the knee couldn't do everything, I still had to watch certain positions. You know, again, it was an improvement. That's all I could ask for. I still struggled to get back into rock climbing and be able to move in certain ways I really wanted to. But, you know, you do what you can do while you can do it, right? I still really struggled, especially because I couldn't exercise how I really wanted to. And it was actually a couple of years later, till again, out of desperation, just wanting to be able to do more than I could, I found a personal trainer in the area named Joby Morrison, who was willing to work with me and was able to adapt exercises so they didn't strain my knee and help me strengthen around it. I started going religiously. Soon I was going 3 times a week and things started to improve. Still not good as new, but I was able to ramp my activities back up. And then when this whole idea of quitting my job and spending some time hiking happened, I decided that, well, I'd like to do the PCT. I don't know if I can do the PCT, considering I have my surgery knee, plus the other knee was giving me trouble off and on. So that summer, right after I quit, where I just went crazy and I was out hiking all the time, that was kind of my dry run for the PCT. After I did that, it was kind of like, okay, I think I can at least attempt this, do what we can do. Interestingly enough, these days, I mean, I've figured out how to manage it. You'll notice I'm always using hiking poles. I don't hike quite as fast or nimbly as I used to. And I just gotta kind of live with that. But being out on the trail actually helps my knee. Periods where I'm not actively exercising all the time, my knee gets worse. So, you know, the first 100 miles or so of the PCT was probably the worst for my knee. And then after that, just the constant repetition and strengthening of the muscles helped it. So I always try and encourage people when you see those questions of somebody's just had knee surgery and they want to do a through hike, but they don't think they can. You know, all you can do is work towards it and do what you can do. Worst case, you get out there, and if you have to exit later, you have to exit later. My doctor did tell me that this is not going to be my last knee surgery. Eventually, I'm probably looking at a knee replacement, but seems like everybody's kind of looking at knee replacements if you live long enough, unless you're very, very lucky. I had another knee doctor at one point tell me, you know, the knee is a fascinating, greatly designed mechanism for somebody whose life expectancy is about 35 years. The fact that people live longer than 35 years, well, that's why he had a fancy car and his kids were going to college. So that's why you see me grumbling about knee pain and why I'm not quite the badass hiker of some of these people out here. Also, since I see this question a lot, how much did the rescue cost? Did I have insurance, etc.? You're not required to have any sort of rescue insurance in the US, at least not in most places. And other than when you have a spot or an inReach, that does cover you at least somewhat, I think. But generally, search and rescue is from the county and it is free. That part was free. Once I got in the ambulance, then I was at the tender graces of the US medical system, and that's where things started to cost thousands of dollars, despite the fact I had insurance. Right after that incident, I did go out and buy a Spot Generation 2 device, which was kind of the best one out at the time that could, you know, send location pings and things for family and worried girlfriends back home. And then later, after being very, very unhappy with the quality of Spot, don't buy a Spot ever, please. And if you do, don't blame me. I upgraded to an inReach Mini, which I'm a lot happier with. I've been through multiple activations of both devices over the years, but other than that incident, they were all for other people, at least so far.